Okay, so you want to know about PiCoin.
Yeah, looks like we've got another deep dive on our hands.
Well, everyone's talking about PiCoin, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's time we really dig into it, see if
definitely.
it's really the future of money or just a fad.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to look at the good, the bad, the whole picture, and we'll
Excellent.
help you figure out if it's worth your attention.
I think the most interesting thing right now with PiCoin is we're actually starting to see it used
Oh, yeah.
like real places taking it as payment.
Wow.
Especially down in Florida, there's a bunch of businesses accepting PiCoin.
Seriously.
That's a huge deal for any crypto, don't you think?
It's definitely a sign that things are changing.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the early days of Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah. How
It
so?
was like this new, weird thing that nobody really understood. And then suddenly, bam,
Huh?
businesses started accepting it. And then Pi Network came out with this big announcement.
What was that?
Zito Realty down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They're now taking PiCoin for real estate.
Oh, no kidding.
Real estate?
Hmm.
That's a huge market.
Huge. Yeah.
And get this, Pi is only the second cryptocurrency they've ever accepted. The first was Bitcoin, of course.
Wow, so that's quite a statement.
Yeah. It means that even those traditional old school industries,
Right.
like real estate,
Yeah,
are starting to see the potential of PiCoin.
absolutely.
And you know what else is interesting? This Zito Realty, the
Mm.
owner, is James J. Zito.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually a film producer and an actor.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
So, I don't know, that kind of adds another layer to this whole thing, right?
It does, yeah. What do you make of that?
Well, to me, it says he's not afraid to take risks, right?
Hmm.
He's got this Hollywood background. He's used to being on the cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he sees that same kind of potential in PiCoin.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like he's betting on the future of this thing.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it looks like he's onto something because PiCoin's price has been going up.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Ever since that Zito Realty news came out,
Right.
it's jumped like crazy, over
Man.
20%. And it's currently trading at $2.
So it's actually worth something now.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's still early days.
Right.
But people are clearly starting to see its value.
So we've got people buying houses with PiCoin.
Yeah.
We've got its price going up.
Mm-hmm.
What else is happening in the Pi world?
Well, there's this other company, Cube Motor. They sell cars down in Florida.
Oh, cool.
They've also started accepting PiCoin.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and Pi Network has this thing called the Map of Pi.
What's that?
It's like a directory that shows you all the businesses that are accepting PiCoin.
Oh, that's cool.
So they added Cube Motor to the map.
So they're making it easier for people to actually use PiCoin.
Exactly. They're building a whole PiCoin economy.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's really mirroring what we saw with Bitcoin, when Tesla started accepting it.
Right, right.
It was a huge deal. It brought a ton of attention to crypto.
Totally.
And I think PiCoin is on a similar path.
So you think it's really going to be the next Bitcoin?
Well, I don't know about that, but it's definitely got potential.
But didn't Bitcoin become popular because people were using it on the dark web for illegal stuff?
Well, yeah, that was part of its early history, but Pi Network is trying to be different. They're
Right.
focusing on everyday transactions, making it easy for anyone to use.
Right.
It's more about accessibility for everyone.
Okay, so things are looking pretty good for PiCoin.
Yeah, they are.
But I know there are some people who aren't so happy about it.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about the critics.
Right.
I mean, there are some big names out there, like the CEO of Bybit.
Mm-hmm.
He's calling PiCoin a scam.
Yeah, I saw that. He's
Yeah.
pretty outspoken about it.
So what's his problem with PiCoin?
Well, a lot of his criticism has to do with how PiCoin is mined.
Oh, right.
Bitcoin uses that proof of work system, which is super energy intensive.
Yeah.
But PiCoin uses a different method. They call it phone-based mining.
Phone-based mining. What's that?
You can basically mine PiCoin just by using your phone. Yeah, and that's what some people, like the Bybit CEO, have a problem with.
Okay.
They say it's too easy to manipulate, that it's not really decentralized.
So they think it's not a real cryptocurrency.
Well, they're not saying that exactly.
Right.
But they're definitely raising some red flags.
But what about the Pi Network community? What do they say to that?
They argue that their system is designed to gradually become more decentralized as the network grows.
Okay.
And they point out that their method makes PiCoin way more accessible to the average person.
Right.
You don't need any fancy equipment or technical knowledge to mine it.
So they're saying it's more democratic.
Exactly. It's crypto for the people, so to speak.
But isn't there an issue with people needing smartphones to mine PiCoin?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a valid concern.
I mean, not everyone has a smartphone, especially in developing countries.
Absolutely, and that could definitely limit its global reach.
Yeah.
But the Pi developers argue that even with that limitation, their phone-based approach is still more accessible than traditional cryptocurrencies that need all that expensive hardware.
I guess that makes sense.
And they're hoping that as technology improves and becomes more affordable,
Right.
more people will have access to smartphones and be able to join the Pi network.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can't forget about the whole Binance situation.
Oh, yeah, that's another big
That's
risk.
right. Everyone's wondering why Binance isn't listing PiCoin.
Yeah, especially with all this community support behind it.
Exactly. I mean, Binance is like the biggest crypto exchange out there.
Hmm.
So their decision not to list PiCoin really makes people question its legitimacy.
Right.
It's like they don't trust it.
Why do you think Binance is so hesitant?
Well, they're probably concerned about the regulatory issues surrounding PiCoin.
Regulatory issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new and untested technology,
Right.
and there are a lot of questions about how it's going to be regulated.
So basically, Binance doesn't want to take the risk.
Exactly. They don't want to get in trouble with the government.
And on top of that, there's the potential for market volatility with PiCoin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still a very young cryptocurrency.
It is, yeah. And that makes it more susceptible to price swings.
All right.
So Binance is probably worried about that, too.
So it's kind of catch-22 for Pi Network.
It is, yeah.
They need more adoption to gain legitimacy,
Right.
but they're facing these hurdles from the big players like Binance.
Exactly. It's a tough spot to be in.
Okay, so we've got all this good stuff happening with PiCoin,
Yeah.
but then we've got all this skepticism and uncertainty.
Mhm.
What's the bottom line here? What's the future of PiCoin?
Honestly, it's really hard to say at this point.
You mentioned earlier that analysts have come up with 4 hypotheses about PiCoin's potential value.
Yeah. That's
Can you tell us a little bit more about one of those?
Sure. One of the most interesting hypotheses suggests that the value of PiCoin will be directly tied to how much it's actually used for transactions.
That makes sense.
So if people are buying and selling stuff with PiCoin, its value will likely increase.
Makes sense.
Just like how the value of regular money depends on how much it's circulating in the economy.
So the more people use PiCoin, the more valuable it becomes.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
the idea.
So it's all about adoption.
Exactly. I mean, that's true for any cryptocurrency, but it's especially important for PiCoin.
Okay, so we're at this crossroads with PiCoin.
Yeah.
It's gaining traction in the real world, but it's also facing some serious challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, can it overcome those challenges?
That's the big question.
Can Pi Network address the concerns about its mining methods, get listed on Binance,
Yeah.
and ultimately convince the world that it's a legitimate and valuable currency?
That's what they're going to have to do if they want to succeed.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It is. This is definitely a pivotal moment for PiCoin.
Yeah, it could go either way.
It could.
Could be the future of finance,
Yeah.
or it could just fade away, like so many other crypto projects.
It's too early to tell, but one thing's for sure, it's worth keeping an eye on.
Absolutely. So here's what I want you to think about.
Yeah.
Will what we're seeing in Florida, with all these businesses accepting PiCoin,
Yeah.
will that be enough to push it over the edge? Will it be enough to overcome all the doubt and make PiCoin a major player in the world of finance?
Interesting question.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
We will.
But one thing's for sure, this is just the beginning of the PiCoin story.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be a fascinating one to watch unfold.
Definitely.
So buckle up and get ready for the ride.
It's going to be a wild one.
It is.
For sure.
All right, that's our deep dive into PiCoin for today.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.